Ever since Spider-Man Brand New Day came out, Marvel, Sony, Tom Holland, Kevin Feige, the director, everyone's been revealing deleted scenes and completely different versions of this movie. There's enough cut footage here to basically make a second film. So let's break down what got cut and why. Spoilers ahead if you haven't seen it. Tom Holland's confirmed the movie originally had a totally different story with different characters. Sydney Sweeney's Jean Grey had a completely different role. Hulk wasn't even involved. Ned and MJ weren't in the story at all. And Sony actually planned to use the No Way Home post-credit scene, where Tom Hardy's Venom symbiote gets left behind in Earth 616, as a direct crossover with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, tying his universe closer to Sony's Venomverse. Alongside that, they wanted to pull in Andy Serkis's Knull from the Venom, The Last Dance post-credit scene as a subplot. Serkis has said Knull was always meant to come back, because Sony told him they had bigger crossover plans in motion. This was clearly part of connecting the Venomverse to the MCU's Spider-Man. The villains were completely different too. Sony tried casting Anne Hathaway and Sarah Snook as the Leper Queen, a major villain who's actually anti-mutant. In the comics, she gives birth to a mutant daughter who burns down her entire house and dies in the process, which is what turns her against mutants, including her own daughter. I think she was meant to replace William Stryker here. Jean Grey would have still played the misdirect villain, not the real threat, just someone the movie wanted you to believe was. The plan was to push X-Men and mutants even further into the spotlight, but Hathaway and Snook passed on the role because they felt Leper Queen's part wasn't big enough. And this isn't the first time Hathaway's almost landed a Spider-Man role. She was originally set to play Black Cat in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 4, which never got made. She was nearly cast again here, and it fell through a second time. Early on, Sony wanted Brand New Day to go even bigger than No Way Home, a full, multiversal scale movie. But Marvel and Kevin Feige wanted to keep it street level, which is exactly what we got. The post-credit scene does drop some multiversal hints, but the rest of the movie stayed grounded. Remember the Morbius post-credit scene where he crosses over with the MCU's Vulture? That was originally building toward a Sinister Six formation to hunt down Spider-Man, though it was never clear which Spider-Man they meant. But if you look at the deleted scenes from Madam Web, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is shown fighting the movie's main villain. So it seems like that Morbius tease was actually pointing at Tom Holland's version the whole time. Brand New Day would have dropped more hints toward that, building into Spider-Man 5 and 6 around the Sinister Six and Knull. But after Kraven the Hunter flopped, Sony decided to reboot their entire universe instead. Now they want Miles Morales to be the main Spider-Man going forward. Tom Holland's also confirmed Miles is coming to the MCU eventually, but not until after Beyond the Spider-Verse releases. The movie also went through a lot of delays. Tom Holland said the script got rewritten during that time to bring it back down to street level, and that delay is actually the reason his Spider-Man isn't in Avengers: Doomsday. Brand New Day was originally supposed to release after Doomsday, with both movies' timelines overlapping, meaning Tom Holland's Spider-Man simply wouldn't have been around for Doomsday's events. Even though Brand New Day technically takes place before Doomsday now, the two movies were still shot at the same time, which made it nearly impossible to fit him into Doomsday. That's why his Spider-Man is heading straight into Secret Wars instead. At one point, the movie was going to feature a Grey Hulk. Concept art and the leaked art book both show him bigger and more monstrous than the Green Hulk. Not the Joe Fixit version, but a completely different, more powerful take. Angry, just like Green Hulk, but on another level entirely. Honestly, I think the Hulk we did get in this movie is already bigger than what we saw in Ragnarok or Age of Ultron, the most massive he's ever looked on screen. There was also a planned cameo from Claire Temple from Netflix's Defenders series. Rosario Dawson has confirmed she filmed scenes for this, but they got cut in the final edit. She would have appeared as a nurse in the hospital scene, right after Punisher brings in Spider-Man following the shooting. Punisher and Claire have actually never met on screen before, so this would have been their first interaction, possibly touching on the other Defenders and setting up Daredevil, Born Again Season 2. But it apparently got too messy, so Marvel and Sony cut it. In the opening montage, Spider-Man fights a bunch of villains while recreating several iconic comic covers. During that sequence, there was supposed to be one massive additional fight: Spidey taking on a group of villains single-handedly, recreating yet another classic cover. The actor who plays Rhino has said a huge scene was filmed with several major actors, but it got cut entirely. Even director Destin Daniel Cretton mentioned in an interview that he was genuinely upset they had to cut the villain team-up sequence. I think this was meant to be a Sinister Six cover recreation. We already saw Spidey fight Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and Electro in No Way Home, so this new lineup probably included villains like Rhino instead. You might remember the trailer scene where Spider-Man visits a children's hospital, teaching kids how to handle needles and injections. One kid jokingly asks him about his spider puberty, which was actually a reference to the real mutation happening in his body. That entire scene got cut from the final movie. Several Tombstone scenes were also filmed, but he only shows up for a few seconds in the final cut. He's being saved for a much bigger role in Spider-Man 5 and 6, so don't be surprised if he becomes a main villain down the line. Tom Holland also revealed there was a point where they planned a full Man-Spider transformation, straight out of the comics, with nightmare sequences, multiple arms, multiple eyes, genuinely horrifying stuff. But because this is a PG-13 movie, that idea got dropped entirely. If you remember Spider-Man, The animated series, Man-Spider showed up there too, but that was a much darker show, and the PG-13 rating here forced Marvel to cut a lot of the more extreme creative ideas. So those are the deleted scenes we know about so far from Spider-Man: Brand New Day. The movie's still fresh, so there's probably more we haven't even heard about yet.